Good morning, everyone. It's a little just after 9, so we want to get started. And I have the video going. So if we're going to try and get everybody to this side because the video is kind of toward this way. But you may sit down, you may stand up, you may walk around. This is very informal. We're glad you're here. And we got a lot to share this morning. And I hope you've got questions and comments that you'd like to bring to us. There's a mic up front here, and we've got another one that we can pass around. So please feel free to join in on the conversation. I would like to first introduce a special guest that's here. Jim Pitch is the supervisor of Salem Township, who's been very instrumental in our FEMA projects. So Jim, if you raise your hand, that Jim has been a very good friend to the park, and we appreciate everything he's done. Rod Birch is just walking toward the door. I don't think he's leaving, but Rod has been a very instrumental part of the new golf cart registration program that will begin in August this year, and was just presented to the board last night, and the board approved the program as well as the rules. Next is the board that we have, the board of directors here, and I'm just going to pass them a mic and have them tell you who they are, and maybe the committee that you serve as a liaison on would be good too. So,
Jim Huck, liaison on the Long Range Planning Committee, Site N182. Been here 6 years.
Good morning, Rick Day, K263, been a member for 14 years, and safety, or not safety, I'm trying to take Dennis's spot, buildings and grounds. Thank you.
Don Van Dusselaar, we've been in the park for 12 years, serve on the policy committee and also chair of the board.
Brian Elling, N504, and I'm one of the newer members of the board this year.
Ginny Hager, I'm the current treasurer of the board, and I'm also on the finance committee, and we are at D99. We've been here since 2000, so 19 years. Plus I grew up here as a kid, so I've been here a long time, since the 70s.
I'm Dennis King. I'm at lot 1076, phase 3 in God's Country. And I've been a regular member for 10 years and associate about 20. And I'm the liaison for the Safety and Security Committee.
Chad Ostrom, 1316 in phase 3. I've been here, gosh, just like Jenny, since 2000. And I was here back in the 70s and 80s as well. And I'm on the FEMA Building Committee.
Hi, Ellen Carpenter. I'm at lot 1073, also in God's Country. I've been at that lot since 2010 and a member since 2001. I am on the golf course committee.
thank you all. I just want to say that this is an awesome board we have, and Kelly Johnson is another, the last person that's in this row of board members that could not be, he could not be here, but I owe a lot of gratitude to these board members, and the committees they serve on have been a big help. Also, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the sponsors, because that's who pays for the coffee and cookies, and there's water in the cooler on the end here, so make sure you get that. But Bachhuizen's Landscaping and Do It Best Hardware out of Wayland are sponsoring today, and we thank them for their faithful giving to the park in terms of the offerings that they have in their stores and in the products and services that they sell. We thank you for considering them in your next purchase. Also on the table here are some sign-up sheets. Make sure that you get your name and site number on that, because we're giving away $5 gift certificates to the Dairy Dip. And one couple I spoke to said their testimony to being a winner. So get your name in. Twice they've been winners. So get your name in on that if you haven't. All right. I think, how many of you have heard the term FEMA and know what it means? A lot of you do. All right. The details of FEMA and the process that it goes through, that we go through to get grants like we've been blessed to get, is a big job. And Jim Pitch and our own Steve DeArmond have been largely responsible for the application and the follow-up detail work that it takes to get these. Jim, would you mind saying just a few words about how that process all went and where you are with it right now?
You're asking a politician to talk. How long do I have? A half hour? With Mr. Day, I served on the fire department for 30 years up in Salem Township, 15 years as assistant chief. Back in the 90s, 80s, 90s, they came out with firefighter training, which we did not have to take because we were grandfathered in, being on the fire department for so long they didn't think they could teach us anything. Well, I did take the training because I was assistant chief and I wanted to let our people know. Well, through that, I ended up working with emergency management in Elgin County, helping them. So I learned a lot about weather and different things. When I see global warming starting up and them saying that we're going to have the type of weather that we have now experienced, I started thinking about different things, and we've always written grants. We've gotten fire department grants, ambulance grants, training, up to the tune of that Salem Township is now up at around the $9 million range of getting grants, probably, according to our emergency management director in the county, probably the highest in the state of Michigan for receiving FEMA grants. So with that, Steve DeArmond, as always, your emergency management director now, and I have been friends since he moved out here and joined our fire department. And now he works with the ambulance, and that's what he's doing today, otherwise he'd probably be here. But he and I wrote a lot of grants. We've written many grants, and the FEMA grants were just one. Well, I was up getting a grant, trying to get a grant for a stream up in New Salem that was going to be almost $1 million with very few people on it. And they asked me when I was at the meeting in Lansing, what would I like to see if I could have any grant I wanted, what would it be? And I said, I would like to see storm shelters in Sandy Pines. I said, we have a population down there of 20, 25, 30,000 people. And I says, they go to bathrooms that are not storm shelters. And the gentleman from FEMA Region 5 out of Chicago says, well, I want you to go back and write a grant. And we did. I spent, Steve put up with me for one whole winter, almost every day, sitting down here with our computers, both of us on computers, researching, looking. And the CCs 5 and 6 in phase 3 came from that. It was a very long thing that we did. But so it's, to me, it's hard to get a grant from FEMA. That's countrywide. And so we decided, well, once we were talking, when we got into it, I told Gene and the group, and we do have a very good committee, I told them we have to think forward, you know, we got this, we got to keep thinking forward. So we started talking about what would the next phase be, and we decided, well, maybe we could replace the Golden Onion with something, and that's what you have on the table back here today. Now, to get one FEMA grant is something, but to get two in a row, that's almost impossible. So you folks need to be very happy with the group that you have here that are supporting this, and you are supporting it through your funding, but to get 75% of the hardening part of this thing paid for by the federal government, that's awesome. And I think if you've looked at the table back there, you got a very beautiful building that's going to be coming in here. It's going to take care of a lot of people. And we would like to continue moving forward. Nothing's guaranteed, but we'll put in our best effort for you. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for letting us serve you. And I don't know if anybody has any questions, I'll be around.
Anybody have any questions for Jim at this point? Yeah, thank you, Jim. It's no small thing, and you know we've gotten. It's been my pleasure to be here for 7 years. This is my 7th year, and I have seen it many times that God has put the right people in the right place at the right time for the right reason. This is one example. It's awesome. $7 million of construction, and it'll cost Sandy Pines $3 million that we have. So you can't get much better than that, folks. Again, like Jim alluded to, there's artist renderings and drawings up on the tables in the back there. Please take a look at those. The committee members on the FEMA committee for the board are Chad, Alan, and Dennis, those three on the end. And then Jim and another board member from Salem. And then there's a number of us from staff that are on it. But we do have a good committee, and I believe that this will be a signature building. I just said to Jim this morning, it'll be a signature building for the park for sure, but it'll probably be a nationally recognized building with respect to FEMA.
Just to say one more thing, I should have said this. The two CCs, is my understanding, were the first CCs or first storm shelters built at a private campground in the United States. This building that's back here will be the first two-story building storm shelter ever built in period. So, yeah, it will have. I think it's going to, and already our CC plans have been taken by the state. They're building some in Newberry in the state park up there. So the state has stolen our plans, which is great. We got competition,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
great. So anyway.
Yeah. Yep. Thank you, Jim. Yeah. So both projects that have been applied for and approved are unique projects to FEMA, and so I think that was probably part of it. In that first project, in phase 3, where the two convenience centers went very, very well. It came in on time, on budget, and we were able to open that prior to the season last year, and we couldn't be much happier than we are with it. Did we do some things different on this one? Absolutely, yes. I think we learned something every project, and this project is going to bear fruit from what the last projects were. So, what else do we have? Let's take a break here a minute to say, does anybody have any questions about anything or comments?
Where are we?
Oh, hold it. I got the video running, and we can't hear you unless you have a mic in your hand. So, it's. I'm not going to respond to that.
Only the guys laughing at that.
Well, we were gone last weekend, so I spent an hour and 45 minutes watching that video of the safety thing yesterday. So anyway, I know what it looks like on the video. Anyway, my question is, where do we stand as far as building that facility?
Okay, good question. Right now, the plan is that the drawings will be done around the end of July. Jim, is that right? Then bid invitations will go out, and bid openings might be September, and then groundbreaking after the season, when the season's over. And the estimated, the date that we want it finished by is June of 2021. It's just before our 50th anniversary in July. So that's kind of the parameters that we're working toward, goals. Pardon me?
Next year is 20, you said July of 21.
Yes, the completion be July of June of 2021. So it'd be it's about a 32-month project, something like that. So, anybody else got a question, especially related to the FEMA project or the North Shore Center, as it's been named?
Yeah, I was just wondering what's all going to be in the building.
Well, I invite you to take a look at the plans, but we have a deficit right now of meeting areas for card playing clubs and committee meetings and those kind of things. So there'll be rooms on the lower level, a number of rooms for that purpose. There'll be a larger room downstairs for some floor games, and as well as it'll be a meeting area, and a library downstairs. Upstairs, there'll be a large meeting area that we intend to have a portable stage that can go up there. There'll be audio visual up there, and the boardroom will be up there. Warming kitchen, so we can have some events in there that would have food. There'll be, I think the tables were enough for 250 people, I believe, wasn't it, Jim? So yeah, 250 people will be able to seat at tables on the upper floor. But in the case of an emergency, we'll be able to hold 1,142 people, I believe, in there is the official capacity. If I'm the last one in and there's 1,142, I'll get in. They figure 5 square feet per person. And then there's got to be some room for handicap. How many of those were there, Jim? 6 or 7. And those are 10 square feet, right? Yeah. So, good question, though. Anybody else? Well, then we'll go ahead, Larry.
Yeah, are the members going to be able to vote if we want this building or not?
Nope.
No?
It's been decided.
It's been decided. Where's the money coming from?
Out of cash.
Out of cash.
And the grant.
And the grant, I understand, but you said about $3 million of Sandy Pines money?
No. The $1 million was for the project away on the other side. That was $1 million. That was our cost. It was a $1 million grant, or $859,000 grant, and Sandy Pines paid for the rest of it. This one will be about a $5 million project. Sandy Pines will be responsible for about $2 million. We don't know it for sure until the bids come in, but we have that in cash and equivalents. So.
Well, it just seems funny we have this much cash, and it wasn't long ago we had to pass money to maintain the buildings we have, and I would think that we should be spending any cash we have on hand to accelerate the maintenance of the buildings that we already have, rather than adding to the expense of having more buildings and upkeep.
You are exactly right. There's a different cost in capital to maintain the buildings than there is to build buildings. These buildings, the cash out of this building, came from efficiencies in operational costs. In other words, we have managers in each of our departments that ran their departments efficiently enough that at the end of the year they wind up with extra cash. We put that cash to the side, and over the last when I got here there was $1.6 million, and now as of last month there was 5.8. So we use that money to do things like this and to do the project across the way. We're not sitting on it. we're using it to expand the park facilities and replace them, because many of them, as this building right here, is 40, you know, they're getting to be 47, 50 years old. There are some that are going to have to be replaced. Others, like CC12, CC11, though if you go look at those, they look like brand new, but they're not. We've remodeled them. You look at the retail building, it's not new, but it looks like a new face. We've repurposed it, and that all these things cost money that came out of the capital reserve fund. So, and I'll say this while I got the microphone, is that I can't tell you how much our staff appreciates the yes vote on that capital reserve, because we are keeping people that are talented and can do the work ourselves in-house. We're hiring some of it out, yes, but our folks are staying here because they know there's work here, and they're using their gifts to help keep this park up, and that's funded through that capital reserve. And so I am very appreciative of that, and I think it has certainly set Sandy Pines in a place where the buildings, when we're done with the capital reserve campaign, it may require another one, but we will have buildings that we do own that are in very, very good shape, and we'll be ready for the future. So
I think you misunderstood me. I just wanted to say, I feel it would be better to use that money to pay for the capital costs of repairing the buildings and the maintenance and stuff, rather than charge us the extra money for the capital reserve fund.
I understood you clearly.
Well, all right, but then
And I'm telling you what it is. You can't mix operational funds and capital. You can't do
you're
it.
saying repairing a building is operational?
Some of it is, yeah, some of it is. But not. We have a capital reserve. That's for anything that would extend the life of an asset.
And the money that you're going to use for that new building is not capital funds that could be used to repair these buildings.
The money that's being used for that is operational reserves.
But you're changing them to a capital fund to build a capital building.
Yes, you have to.
So you couldn't have taken that money, made it capital money, and use it to repair the existing buildings.
Does anybody here want to turn down $3 million today?
Gene, it's not that I don't want to turn it down.
I'm asking the question now. Your question is almost absurd, Larry, because I want to tell you, if we don't do something over there, we are putting in jeopardy people from storm shelters. We are never going to build a building like this or the CCs across the way in Phase 3 to these standards for this price. If you want to turn it down, I would say you're in the minority, but that's up to you. What I'm telling you is that when this opportunity came up from Salem Township, our board at the time said, go. It wasn't my decision. It was a board decision, and I believe it was a wise one.
Then are you saying you're going to build storm shelters for the other phases?
I'm saying if the opportunity is there, that they certainly will look at it. I think Jim and Steve are already looking toward the next one.
Then you're saying you're going to convert CCs in Phase 2, because Phase 2 has very limited operation to put a building up that would be suitable for a storm shelter.
Yeah, I think that the idea is that we'll take it as far as it goes, but beyond that, then it would have to be self-funded, and that could extend the timeline when that could get done. But the bottom line is we're going to take advantage of it where we can and when we can, and that's what we're doing. And we're fortunate, like Jim said, to have two of them back-to-back approved. That just doesn't happen. So, and the more we do it, the more competition that we're seeing too as well in the application. So, we're very blessed to be where we are right now with respect to this grant and the facilities that we're going to be able to use for decades to come. Yeah, I got to give you a mic though, otherwise we can't hear you. Okay. Oh, okay.
I guess just a little bit to Larry's point, these buildings that we're building now, if you haven't been over to the CCs in Phase 3, I would invite you to go over there. I assume everybody's looked at those. The materials and craftsmanship of those buildings should last you 40, 50 years, that they will not need to be touched or repaired. They'll have to be cleaned. But if you look at those, there's really nothing to damage. They got the best of everything on them, and that's what this grant helped do. So you shouldn't have to spend money. This is basically saving you money, because we did try to construct them in the right way using the best materials that we could get. And we had a great group that built out those buildings, and they put everything they had into it, giving us a lot more than what we expected. So Larry, to your point, these buildings that we're building, they should not have to be repaired in the next 50 years, as you are seeing with some of the buildings you have now, because of the way the construction is being put together on those.
Thanks, Jim. Okay, we're going to move on to another project, and that is the golf cart registration project. And Steve DeArmond was a part of that, as was Rod Birch and Dennis King as well. So I'm going to ask Rod to talk a little bit about that program that was approved last night at the board meeting.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Rod Birch. I'm at N356. I've been here since 1998, and I've been on the Safety and Security Committee ever since it was formed. I'm also on the Technology Committee. I was in May of last year, I'm talking with Keith. I found out that we were having difficulty with people coming into the park illegally on golf carts. They would come in, nobody knew for sure, there was no way to tell. Oh, I'm sorry. There was no way to tell that there was somebody in here that wasn't supposed to be unless they got stopped, and that's what was happening. And they were stopped because they were doing something wrong. Otherwise, they would have never known it. So this was becoming a very big problem, and Keith asked Safety and Security if they would try to come up with a way of putting license plates on golf carts. And so we did that. We, with the help of at the time, Dennis King was the chairman of Safety and Security, and I've been conversing with him along with the staff, management, Steve DeArmond and Keith, and all of the administration. And we have come up with license plates for this project. This began in May of last year, and it also, we started work on it in June of last year with the help of the administration, Steve and Keith, and also the staff. The internal document that we have come up with, it has many, many, many hours of time spent. And this document is that document. And it will be on the member website. We needed to wait before we did that so that the board could look at it and make a determination that we could go ahead and do this. The plates for the license, you'll be able to register it online, your golf cart. You'll be able to also use a kiosk or a paper form. The plates will be available August 19th, or I'm sorry, August 2019. They must be on your golf cart by September of 2020. And so that gives everyone a year to do this. We are currently still working very hard to come up with ways so that people will know how to put them on. We're going to have videos on that. We're going to be putting this on the website. It should be on within the next week. Is that, yeah, that's okay. And when that comes up, we have tried to put everything in this document. It was an internal document. So therefore, everything that we worked on is in this document. And they're going to try to make it so that if you have a question or a problem, and you'll be able to click on something, if you have web access, you'll be able to click on that and you'll be able to find out the information that you need. If you do not have web access and you would like help or you need to fill out the form, you can get a paper form for that. On the web access is much easier because it has drop-down boxes, so it will be much easier to fill out. Let's see, we look for this registration packet to be on member access soon. We're hoping this week. And there will be also on this, there will be about 31 questions and answers on there. And we are asking everybody if they have a question and they need an answer to that question, they can ask that question on there and we will try to answer it as soon as possible. Please ask questions, and that will help us to finish this up and make it as easy as possible on you and also the people on the staff and administration. Thank you very much, and good luck with everything. Thank you.
Thanks, Rod. The back of, or that pamphlet that he has, as he said, will be online. You can also get a paper copy of it upon request. I think the charge is $2 for a paper request. Yes. Okay. On the back of that also are the rule that was passed last night by the board that applies specifically to this program. So if you have any questions on any of that, please feel free to come back and ask those questions throughout these face-to-face meetings going forward. Because like Rod said, it doesn't start up until August, so right now everything's on paper. They do have to place an order for the plates, so we'll be doing that. And then the plate are going to be specific to your site. They will be your site number, front and back. So be aware of that. Again, thank you, Rod, for the time. Dennis, for your time. And Steve isn't here, but I know he put a lot of time, and so did Keith, into the rules. So thank you all. Some handouts that are over by the door are the current channel lineup. And I say current because we're still not done with Spectrum, with our concerns that we have a couple of things that need to be put in place. But grab one of those if you have a desire to. There's a 2019 recreational event schedule up there. Take one of those, and then there's footprints, the May footprints, so you may gladly take one of those. Another item that I'd like to bring to your attention would be the PA 330 program, and I'm going to ask Keith to talk about that a little bit. There was 2 meetings last week, Friday evening and Saturday morning, fairly well attended. And I didn't look to see how many people have viewed the videos, but I'm hoping that a lot of people get a chance to see that. The programs went well, the informational meetings went well, I mean, and we're looking forward to moving ahead with that program, continuing to move ahead. Keith and his department have done a lot in that respect already in the last off season. So we're we're looking forward to that. Keith, would you like to talk a little bit about the PA 330?
Thank you, Gene. I'll start by, if there's people here that have viewed the videos, you have an opportunity. I have to respond to any questions that you have if you saw the videos, or I think I'll just start by opening it up to questions. If anybody has any questions, what is it, or anything like that, feel free, and I'll try and answer any questions that you have. Okay.
I seen when the information meeting that you can't transport anybody you arrest. You have to wait for Allegan County to come get them. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Where do you intend on housing these people once you arrest them, waiting for Allegan to come?
That's something that's a logistic issue that we'll have to look at. There's a lot of logistics that goes into this, and I believe you were there. So this isn't a program that can be implemented quickly. That's certainly one issue that we have to look at. You have to arrange, my thought at this point would be that we arrange for transport with the Allegan County Sheriff and have some type of a contract with them to do so. What you bring up is valid, and let's say they have a 2 or 3 hour window before they can have a car over here to transport somebody. Obviously, if we take somebody into custody at that point, you're responsible for that person. You're responsible for their physical well-being and so forth. So where do we secure them? Yeah, that's something that's going to have to be looked at.
The main problem I see, we have 3 isolated properties, phase 3, the main park, and the condos, and you can't.
Use the microphone because this is being recorded.
I'm trying to use the microphone.
Come closer to the microphone.
Oh, all right. We have phase 3, the main park, and the condos. So if you arrest someone in the condos, you're going to have to house them over there until they can come and pick them up, because the only way from the condos over here is on public roads, and you're not allowed to transport them.
I think under those circumstances, because we'd just be crossing a road, that we'd be in compliance if we have one area where we can house somebody. And it isn't going to be large. And like you heard in the meeting, a custodial arrest of somebody on these grounds is going to be a last resort. This is not something that we're going to be looking to take people into custody frequently. There are going to be circumstances where essentially we have no other choice, where the person's behavior presents an immediate risk to the health and safety of other people, and there's simply no recourse other than that. So these are going to be infrequent. I believe they'll be infrequent. I truly hope they will be.
So the end answer is you're going to wait and see what happens, and you're going to make a decision how to handle it.
No, that'll all be planned before. There's still lien. You heard lien addressed at the meeting. Lien is another logistical issue that, from the thought and the research that I've done so far, I would prefer to contract with the sheriff's office to run our lien as opposed to having a dedicated lien terminal on our site, because again, it presents so many logistical issues. Lien terminal's got to be secured. There's got to be limited access to it. Anybody that has access to it has to be trained as a lien operator. And most agencies or entities that are doing what we're going to do look to actually contract their lien service out with a police agency, as opposed to going through the expense and so forth of having a dedicated terminal, dedicated lien operator, and so forth.
All right.
Any other questions I can answer? That was easy.
I just want to make a quick comment about the whole PA 330. We initiated the process. This is as Keith alluded to, this isn't going into effect tomorrow. There's a lot of things. First, you have to apply to see if you're accepted before you spend a lot of time and resources trying to iron out all the little intricacies that go into it. These guys are working very diligently to try to propose solutions to the things that come up in those answers, but this is a long-term process that has to go, through approval of the county sheriff, the prosecutor, all the partners. Everybody has to sign on, be approved by the state. You don't, if you don't apply, you don't get an answer. So again, this is just a very lengthy but very diligent process that everybody is going through to get. There's going to be questions, and yeah, maybe they don't have the answers, but it's because they're not going to spend too much time and effort to figure every little detail out until we figure out if it's even going to be feasible. So if you have a question or you have a concern, ask. I always say this stuff isn't secret squirrel. We're all here to provide the best we can for our members and our employees. And I think we lose sight of that sometimes. So don't be afraid to ask. We're all adults. We can all be respectful. But, just ask questions if you truly, are looking for a reasonable answer, of what the situation is. And I give these guys credit. They've done a lot of due diligence, and they've spent a lot of hours behind the scenes trying to determine what's the best process for our community here. And I know it's hard to believe, but we're not all perfect. I know there's a few members that are, but us as a whole, we're not. And I totally get that. And, I appreciate that, Brian, and I recognize your honesty. But like I said, that if you can come and be open and honest and not be begrudging and try to, always, just do it for the right reason and ask your questions. And, I get in trouble because I always say, just because you don't like the answer don't mean you keep asking the same question, But let's do it respectfully, and we're all in this together. So just, if you have a question, please ask, and we'll try to get the best answer we can. And again, absolutely, it's not etched in stone. This isn't all figured out yet, but they're working diligently to try to answer all the questions that come up to see what works for our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. And I would just add to that the blueprint of the program that we're following is there. Now it's executing on it, and then having decisions made on our behalf that are out of our hands. But it will be a multiple year phase in likely, and part of that program, to Larry's point, is probably going to be some addition to the public safety building itself. We're working on some rough sketches for an expansion onto that building that would allow for some training space, some storage space, and possibly a holding room. But again, custodial is not going to be the norm. We hope, but it has been. There has been a number of situations in the recent history of Sandy Pines where it would have been a benefit for us to have been able to do that. So bottom line is PA 330 is about information and authority. And at this point, in many ways, our staff, although well-equipped with their skill sets, are ill-equipped with those two items, and that's that I just mentioned. Information is vital to making good decisions, and so we hope to have the authority as well as the information to make this place. This is a city that sees about as many calls as the city of Lowell, I'm told. So there's plenty of need here, and overall, Keith will be the first to tell you, we have a lot of great people in this park, but there is that small portion, and then there are guests that are brought in that are not of the same culture and social expectations that we have here for each other, that are among some of those that visit here. So. Safety and security. Anybody else got any questions?
Does anybody have any questions as to what PA 330 is and what authority and so forth? Sure. So PA 330, it's Public Act 330. And a little bit of history on it. It's an act that was enacted in the late 1960s. I believe it was 66. And what PA 330 allows is it allows for the formation of a private police authority. The officers have to be trained to standards that are set by MCOLS. MCOLS is the organization that governs police standards in the state of Michigan, training requirements and so forth. So the act, again, is overseen by the same organization that oversees police certifications and carries with it a minimum level of training, certain levels of qualifications. Those are all standards set by the state of Michigan. Once an agency has powers under PA 330, what that power involves is the authority to effect custodial arrest for misdemeanor offenses while that person is in uniform and on company property. That would be the distinction between somebody that's a fully sworn officer that, say, works for Michigan State Police or Allegan County Sheriff, is that they have the ability to effect misdemeanor arrests anywhere within the county of Allegan. Under PA 330, those powers are limited, again, to somebody that's in uniform on company property. There's currently 14 organizations that use PA 330 in the state of Michigan, and there's a couple around here. Spectrum Health is a huge one. Spectrum has, I think they're roughly 180 employees under their police authority, but not all those folks are sworn under PA 330. So their 330 people are roughly a third. I think they have 60 or 70 officers that are sworn. And what it really does there, and what it'll do here, is it is a cooperative agreement between your local law enforcement and the entity that's using PA 330. And they have a great relationship there with Grand Rapids PD. What it does is it allows them to have a quick, efficient response to incidents that occur at the hospital. It's a massive operation there. I think they see about 17,000 employees alone coming and going. And it's simply not a good method of giving service if they have, say, a disorderly person, excuse me, or somebody that's assaulting somebody on the 7th floor, to contact GRPD, because GRPD is going to, even though they have a lot of cars, and they have a lot of resources there because they're a large city department, for them to send multiple units to get over to the 7th floor is going to be a problem. So they're equipped to go in there and to deal with that. And then, like I said, it's a cooperative agreement between them and the city of Grand Rapids. So cooperative that GRPD actually issued GRPD badge numbers to the people that are sworn under PA 330. Henry Ford is another one. U of M just went to, U of M has their own campus safety, which are sworn. They just actually enacted a PA 330 group too. So if it's done correctly, it is a cooperative agreement, and it gives opportunities to combine training. But in the end, the purpose that it really serves is in this case, the members, our company property. It just results in a much higher level of service and an improved level of safety and resources to people that are here. And we're in a rural community here. Allegan County Sheriff does not have the resources of GRPD. So it's a huge geographical county. We track response times out here and so forth. And based on risk assessments that we've done, I'll get into a little bit of the background of this. We did risk assessments last year, and we didn't draw any conclusions initially other than that we have an identifiable problem here. And it was based off a number of specific incidents in several cases that we're seeing repeatedly. And they were of a concern because they were the kind of incidents where we did not have resources in place to deal with these, and it resulted in a considerable risk. So the question, identify the risk, and then what can we do to mitigate this? So at that point, we ended up bringing in a couple of consultants because we wanted some outside expertise to come in here. And we did that, and that involved bringing these folks in here, showing them, here's the geography of the park. You guys are all members here, so we're not overwhelmed by it anymore, probably, unless we have some new folks in here. But for somebody to come in here, if they haven't been in this park, to see the size of this operation, the number of sites, the number of people, the number of vehicles, it's truly overwhelming. And that was the response that we got from these guys when they came in. So then we went into some analytical information, some statistical information. We went over specific call types and incident numbers, which we're now doing a much better job of tracking. The information that you see in the footprints is what we are doing every month. There's been a little bit of backlash from that, which I kind of anticipated because it took some people by surprise in that, wow, I wasn't aware this kind of stuff was happening in the park, which led to a lot of people coming into my office saying, what's going on here? And they all got the same response. This is a beautiful place. It gives opportunities to combine training. But in the end, the purpose that it really serves is in the end, the members, our company property. It just results in a much higher level of service and an improved level of safety and resources to people that are here. And And the number of criminal incidents that happen in here is far less than what happens outside our facility. It always will be. I hope so. I mean, it's a fraction of what happens outside because we screen people. We have physical control measures in place, access controls, 24-hour patrols, surveillance system, things of that nature, all to provide a safe environment. But when we look at the amount of people that are in here, and it's a massive amount of people. I mean, there's over 300,000 cars entering this park a year, not including guest traffic. So even though our numbers are a percent, we still see these social issues in here that you see outside. In many cases, in recent cases, we're seeing that they originate outside the park, are of a serious nature, and then they end up coming into here. So in the end, we're not granted an exemption from society issues in here. We deal with them in a lower number, but we certainly deal with them. And we need to provide the service to the members, the guests, the associates, and so forth that allows us to take care of these types of issues, prepare for them. That's certainly a part of it, just the planning. What do we do if this occurs? To work cooperatively with agencies like the Sheriff's Department, which we've been doing. Gene and I have had meetings with the Sheriff of Allegan County, the Undersheriff, a Lieutenant, and the person that runs their tactical team. Some of this stuff is ugly topics. It's stuff that we wish we didn't have to talk about. But the fact is it does exist in society, and there needs to be some plans and some resources in place. And that's why the commander of their SWAT team has been out here now multiple times with his with his guys. Get familiar with the geography, look at some areas that we feel are soft, and come up with some type of EOP or emergency plans to, if this happens, are we prepared for it, and how are we prepared for it? So that stuff has all been taking place. Are there any follow-up questions to any of that?
How many of you have ever gone to Spectrum Butterworth to look for a patient room? Were you confused? Compare that to Sandy Pines. When the police officer or EMT or ambulance comes into the park, this can be a maze to walk through, to get through, and so it's good, and it's going to be best to have good people on our staff that can guide those other services into the park, into the site specific, as quickly as possible and as efficiently as possible. Keith has been blessed with the fact that he's had a number of law enforcement officers or prior law enforcement officers come and apply for a position at his in his department. And currently, what do you got, Keith?
I have 4 of my 4-time people all have over 20 years of full-time law enforcement. So the good thing with that is, like I said before, MCOLS prescribes minimum standards for anybody who's going to be sworn under PA 330. The people that we would use as PA 330 officers, not going to be everybody. I have people that work exclusively in my office. They don't patrol. I want certain types of qualifications and skill sets before I put them out here. Having said that, those people that I have on staff have 10, 20, 30, 50 times the amount of specific documented training that MCOLS requires for people under PA 330. So we have the skill set here. We have the people that have been employed in these capacities, which makes it a lot easier for us to start from scratch. It's an expensive process, and Spectrum does that. They'll hire people that don't have that haven't previously been certified under MCOLS, and if they meet the standards or there's a need, they run them through their school, but it's lengthy and it's expensive. Whereas if you have people that have already been certified, then it's just a matter of essentially retesting. There's written tests, depending on what capacity they're going to be used. They have tests that are conducted by the state of Michigan or at an approved facility, and they test out those requirements because of their background.
If any of you have been here in the last 7 years, you know that for about 6 of those years, it's been a concern of mine to have security at a level that we have not seen it before. There's been a number of ups and downs, a number of go and a number of stops. I believe right now we are in a position that we have never been before with respect to the fundamentals that we already possess, with the support that we have from this board, and with the outline and draft of where we need to go to get to the ultimate, to what was always the ultimate goal for the park. And we're looking forward to moving ahead with this program, and hopefully we'll get PA 330 authority. If not, we're still going to wind up with a department that is an amazing asset to the park. Thank you, Keith. Anybody got anything else for Keith?
Yes, sir.
I just got a comment. I think everybody can hear me. So I can use this too.
You want to be on?
No. Hi. So I just wanted to say that first and foremost, I support the PA 330, and my opinion changed from a few years ago till now. A couple of reasons. One is the change in the safety office, the new processes, the personnel, things like that. I support it 100%. Two, couple of, I had talked to a lot of people, and I noticed that some of the resistance to the PA 330 is people say, well, we've never had those issues in the park. What I say is, and even if we had never had any issues, but we know we have had some, even if we never have, I buy insurance for my automobile. I don't plan on getting into an accident, but if I do, I want to be prepared. I have life insurance. I don't plan on dying anytime soon, but he might have another plan for me. I don't know, so I want to be prepared. And so many people going out and getting concealed permits now, they don't plan on getting mugged or robbed or anything, but they do that because in case they do, they're prepared. And I look at PA 330 exactly the same reason. Hopefully we never have to use it, right? Never have to detain anyone, never have to use excessive force, anything like that. But in the event that something comes up, a situation comes up, I'd rather us be prepared than not be prepared. So that's just my thoughts and comments.
Thank you, Brian. As a quick response to the incidents, I deal with these statistics all the time, and my philosophy on statistics and what we're doing is that you as the members have a right to know that, and that's why those statistics are being published in there. And yes, there was some backlash as to, wow, I wasn't aware that this stuff happened in the park. I can tell you unequivocally, this stuff's always happened in the park. It's just that there's different documentation standards in place, number one. So we saw this, and we were told by one of these consulting firms, boy, you better be prepared to go in there and explain to people how your incident numbers went from this to this. Is it that big of an increase? Now, we do see an increase, in all fairness. We look at numbers from the park from prior years, and I think we provided about 10 years of data to Compliance One. Every year the park is busier. There's more guest traffic, there's more vehicles being processed and so forth. So yeah, there's some increase, I think, just due to the change in people. Is it significant? No. The significance that you're seeing is that everything's being tracked and the details are being provided to the members, which I'm a big believer in. You guys have every right to know what we're doing. Well, obviously these are going to be redacted reports because we're not going to go into details. We maintain strict confidentiality on anything that happens in here, but in general, I'm a big believer. You guys have every right to know what's going on in your park. I'd want to know as a member, what kind of calls do you guys run? How many calls do you run? Things like that. So that's where those difference in the numbers came from. And again, I want to tell you that is the park a more dangerous place today? I don't believe it is. I think there's some society issues that we're seeing in greater prevalence. School shootings, active shooter incidents, things like that. Yeah, we're seeing that stuff, and that's unfortunate. And there is an increase in it. Hopefully, we never see that kind of stuff here. But other than that, nothing that I see shows that there's any significant increase in the kind of stuff that we're dealing with out here. It's just that the data is there for people to look at. Thank you for your comments, Brian.
Yeah, Brian, you capture the spirit of what we're trying to do and why we're doing it. I appreciate that as well. I just want to say, I'm going to back up just a little bit to 2017, which is during the off season of 2016 to 17. I was asked by the board at that time to restructure the department. And I can't say enough about Steve DeArmond and the work that he's done here in the last 32 years, and in the area of safety and in security. Over Steve was the one that was largely handcuffed prior to the restructure of that department. He had a very small budget, and therefore he was not able to have the funds to hire skilled sets that we required and that we have today. So the other benefit that's happened out of the restructure is Steve going into head up these emergency services, and he has a number of things. The FEMA grants are one thing, but emergency action plans, he's got a number of those going on right now, and he is a real asset. If you need anything looked at, you need any detail, he's the guy you call on. You're going to get a 100-page report that you're going to have to swim through, but it's going to be detailed. And Steve has been a real asset, and him and Keith working side by side out of that same building, basically with the same budget, has been a very good move on the part of Sandy Pine. So we're fortunate to have these two gentlemen. Between them, the knowledge and the connections that they have are phenomenal. They're items you can't hire. So that being said, last night the board also voted to approve the change in the rule book to trust membership. More clarification, not necessarily a change. We've been able to have trust memberships in the past. For I think it's started about maybe five years ago that this was allowed. The rule that was passed last night will take effect. Don, are we going to? I don't know if we addressed that. Is that going to go into effect immediately? Do you know? Yeah. Okay.
But what we do, the action that is taken throughout the summertime is what we do is the action that has taken place by the board throughout the summer. Then at the end of the season, all those changes then are permanently put into the rule book, or if there happen to be a change to the bylaws. Otherwise, we have to republish every time we change a rule or a policy. You have to, republish all that documentation. So it'll go into effect, but it will be permanently put in, and then there will be a permanent record of all the changes that took place over the summertime.
Yep, thank you. If you get a chance, when this rule comes out, the rule change, I'm going to ask Josh to post this on our website as well. But the changes are not that significant, but they're giving clarification to what a trust membership is, and when it needs to be ended after the death of the grantors, the last of the surviving grantors. So that's the rule that was passed last night. Another one is not a rule, but it will be a bylaw change, and that will be on the ballot, hopefully. The board voted to approve the language. Now, in June, a bylaw ballot language will go to the board that will be drawn up by our legal counsel, should be an easy one because there's only 2 words that are being added to that bylaw. It's Article 2, Section 7, and it's entitled "The Death of a Member." Basically, prior to this, our bylaws allowed for a transfer transfer of membership in a couple different ways. Even though we were allowing a trust membership to be one of those ways, it wasn't in our bylaws. So the only 2 words that are added into here are trust instrument, and that's in the list of things that you can do as a member in passing on the estate of the estate portion of your membership. And then the last one that was approved last night was the golf cart license plate rules, and those will also be posted. These will be one that will take effect after the end of the season because we're not starting the program until August of this year. So, so that's that one was that was the last one that I'm aware of that had anything to do with rules. So you guys have been pretty silent. You got anything? No?
You have a question? Yeah, I do. Oh, here, you can.
With these new license plates and the golf carts, obviously most of them are going to need some sort of brackets to hold the license plate, especially on the front of golf carts. Is the park going to have these brackets available, or are we going to have to go look for something to make work to hold the plate on the front of the golf carts?
I'll turn over to Rod, and I think they're working on that right now. So
Yes, we've started working on finding golf cart brackets for the golf carts. There's a whole bunch of different golf carts especially, and different ways that we have to find a way to put those on. Working right now with Dale in Park and Gardens. He's going to help. They're going to also provide assistance to the members in putting their golf cart license plates on. And right now we believe we have a very good bracket that we've come up with that will fit most of the rear. And we're currently working on the front right now. I know some of the carts are very different and they have different ways, and we have to try and get them on the front center and the rear center of the cart. And the reason for this is so that the PSO officers can see the plate, because everything else has always been, they've been pasted all over the carts, very hard to distinguish, and this is one of the reasons that they have wanted to go to this, so that it'd be in a specific area. Also, the stickers that you're now using on your cart, after the license plates are in effect as of 2021, when that year comes, there will be a little tab that will go on your, just like your license plate on your car, and that way they'll be able to see that it is registered.
Just one last question. Do you think Park and Garden and whoever else in the park will be able to provide enough brackets and things for all the golf carts in this community? Because how many roughly are there? I'm going to guess between 4,000.
As of, I believe it was 2018, there was 3,200 and I believe it was 68 that were registered at the time. And I believe that we're working right now with making them up. We will have the amount that we need. It's right now, it's a fact of we have to order some, and then we'll have to see how fast we go through that. And our orders are going to be fast, and it's not, I'm trying to get the lead time right now so that we can anticipate what we will need and how fast we will need it. If we do run into a different type of a bracket. We're also going to try and contract that out to somebody that can make those brackets if we need that. I'm not even sure that we need it, but we're just trying to find out what we do need. That's right now, that's what's stopping, not really stopping us, but that's what we've gotten into now. Now that we have completed the document, the internal document, and we're going to get that out to everybody, now we've started into making sure that we can mount them, that you have the information you need, the vendors you can go to if you need help. We're going to try and make that as easy as we possibly can.
Okay, thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions?
Almost all the molding on the side of your car is held on by 1/4-inch thick closed cell double-sided tape made by 3M. It's in every automotive store that you can think of, and that's how I hold my plates on. I've got my numbers custom painted on plates, and that's how I hold them.
Thank you. To clarify, Dan, we won't buy brackets for all carts because there's a lot of folks in the park that are pretty ingenious on how to make it connect. But we will have some, yes. That's okay.
Okay. Are we getting a cable guide channel? Can we get a cable guide channel? Are we going to get a cable guide channel?
No. When we're dealing with them to buy, yes. When we buy, no. No. No, when we were in negotiations with Spectrum, they were very confident that we would be able to have a cable guide, not interactive, but it would be an internal guide. And it's one of the issues that changed. So you got another one.
A lot, but I'll do it. For replacing this building, is that already in the 10-year $300 whatever? Is that in that budget or no? To replace this one? Yeah. No. Oh, okay.
No. The question was, is this building in the 10-year budget? The answer at this point is no. We had this building checked for engineering structural integrity about 4 or 5 years ago. We're going to do that again, though. But our 10-year plan is a rolling plan, so I think we're into year 3, I believe, of a 10-year. So it will probably wind up outside of that unless something happens. Then we'll reprioritize it because every year the board approves the capital budget and it's by priority. So if it does come up that we need it, then it will. We were going to do the same thing with the Onion building, you remember, because that was in that 10-year plan at the time. And our indoor pool was, and then the building had to be closed. So
Phase 2 pool?
Phase 2 pool. Again, it was reprioritized. I still believe that we want one over there because the original intent was to bring an amenity over there into that open area that would be used by folks in Phase 2. The other thing was to cut down on the reasons for people to cross into Phase 3 for swimming lessons because we lost this pool. When we looked into the pool, got some preliminary pricing on it a couple years ago, we had a number in our mind of what we thought we could do it for. When it came to the reality, that number almost tripled. So we didn't have that kind of money in the budget. So what we looked at next and what we're currently looking at is a way to cross between 6 and 3, phase 6 and 3, with either a tunnel or a bridge. And also another option came up last week, and that would be a permission to call, a permission to cross button with stoplights. So we're looking at that.
So is the Phase 2 pool as called off at this point, would you say?
The phase 3 pool has just been moved
No.
back. I don't think it's, yes,
As of right
to
now,
answer your question,
it's
it's not
called
going to be
off.
built within this year or next year. If it becomes, it'll get back to the priority list, and safety is the number one, which is the reason it got on, one of the reasons, main reasons it got on in the first place, and it will get back on there for a reason later on. I don't think that's a dead issue, no. I think it's a great place to have a pool.
Pools are crowded, that's one of the reasons why I asked, which you already knew that.
Yep.
Right, next question, Phase 3 being paved. I've been here for 19 years, and it's always been brought up, but never was done. I moved out of there now, I moved over here.
Yeah.
But I just was curious where
Yeah.
I still stand.
I've been here 7 years, and I've been fighting with it. And there's a proponent sitting right over there from Salem Township who would get it done next year if he could. He's been willing to pave his half for 7 years, and that's Salem Township. Pardon me? Well, unfortunately, if you'd be traveling in from the west going east, it would be gravel, because that's...
It's like that in a lot of places. We have that in our township, where different parts of the township, and then we have gravel.
Well, it would when you say half, Sandy Pines is willing to pay the other half. This year, and I can let Jim speak to it if he wants to. We were set to do construction this year, weren't we? But then Salem and Monterey were told, by my understanding, they're told by the drain commissioner that they had to install 3 to 5 culverts, and about $300,000 cost. So that's where their funds are going this year.
Actually, there's 3 big culverts right here on 136 between 30th and 28th at the cost of $500,000, which would be $250,000 for each of us. So we also have that out for grant funding. So if that came through, that'd be awesome. But haven't heard anything yet. So everything we do in Salem is with grants. We write a grant for everything we can. And we're waiting to hear back. Soil Conservation District offered to do that grant, so I gave it to them, and see how they do.
Yeah, as I said, Salem was a willing partner all along. Monterey's got some history with Sandy Pines that isn't so perfect, and we really didn't get a good answer from them until a solid answer from them until late last fall. And I can't, I'm not throwing anybody under the bus, but they decided that they were not going to be a part of any paving of 136. So we had planned to prioritize some funds from the roads here in the park to assist Salem Township in paving that first half mile going east from 26th. But as you said, as Jim said, they had to reprioritize their funds as well. So I don't think that's a dead issue. I don't think Jim will let it die. I'm not going to be around to see it happen, evidently, but it will get done. I'm sure of it. Got another one over here?
The lady over here.
Nope.
I had one earlier.
I just had a brainstorming suggestion.
That's good. We'll take them.
When we do the license plates, would there be a way to organize it? So maybe even with a flea market or something else, that we did a mass put on of your brackets with people with the right tools and people coming to get it done.
Good question.
We are looking at a couple of different options with as far as the brackets, putting them on, getting people registered. That's going to be, because there's a lot of carts in this facility. So we're still trying to find the best way to do that. We're going to have videos on how to do it. We're going to have different ways to try and help everybody, and also get the vendors to help them as far as license. Yeah, and actually Park and Gardens is planning on trying to facilitate that. That's why I'm working with Dale on that. He's volunteered to do that and help people. Also, I've been talking to Jeremy across the street at Superior. He's also been willing to help people get this accomplished. I'm not too sure about Scott because I don't know if Scott's still going to be here. I'd heard that maybe he wasn't going to be here. But we're hoping to get enough people to help us get this done. And it's going to be I've never seen a project, or I've never dealt with a project this big before. And without all the help of the board, Keith, Gene, I can't, and Steve, it's been a wonderful job working with them, and they've all been a whole lot of help. And a lot of the staff has been so helpful in making sure that we try to make this as easy as possible on them, because of course they have to deal with this and answer questions, and also on the people that have to do this. And it's important that this happen. You have people coming in here that shouldn't be here. They're using your facilities. You're paying for it. That's not right. That's not right to the people that are members. And, ma'am, I'm sorry.
If we're going to go through the hassle of putting license plates on carts, is there going to be a way to regulate the speed? Could we not put governors on those that have license plates, since we have a speed limit within the park? I see bigger, better, faster, higher, more problems with what I don't consider to be a golf cart. They look more like a hot rod than a golf cart. So I think at this time, we need to take a look at the opportunity to say, if you're going to have a registered golf cart within the park, it would have a maximum speed of maybe 20 mile an hour or even 15, and have some sort of governors.
That's phase 2. We're going to put a GPS on every golf cart, and if you go over 10, you're going to get a ticket in the mail.
Yeah.
No, I hear you. I'm just kidding with you.
That's a
Keith, you got anything you want to add to that?
Speed enforcement, two-edged sword. It has to be discretionary, and that's what I urge with my employees. We do speed enforcement in the park. We have multiple speed measuring devices. We respond to areas where if somebody, and you folks are welcome to call in any issues that you have. We take these calls, we welcome these calls. If you're in a specific area and you're seeing a problem with speed, then what we do is we put people out on DP, or directed patrol. And the goal there is to stop some vehicles, be highly visible, and try to slow people down. Our goal, I'll make this clear, is not to write everybody that's going over 10 miles an hour in this park, because you folks are not going to support that. There's a lot of discretion when it comes to that needs to be involved when it comes to issuing violations. But again, do we police it? We most certainly do. There's certain areas that speed is more of a concern than others. And with respect to putting governors on carts, I can tell you right now that we are aware of a number of specific carts in the park and what their top speed is. So is that clear enough? We know where the problem carts, and having said that, I'll also say that the bulk of the major speed violations I see in the park do not involve carts, because there's only a handful of carts that are capable of going substantially over 20 miles an hour. Vehicles, on the other hand, much more mass, much more kinetic energy. If they hit something, those are typically where we see the bigger violations.
But I think if you look at the change from 5 years ago when they used to be golf carts to what they are today, I think we're evolving into a whole new scenario of transportation other than auto.
And we've addressed that in that, because the simplest way I can put this is, this question comes up a lot. What can be in this park as far as motor vehicles? So the state of Michigan defines anything that has a motor as a motor vehicle. If I have skates on that have some kind of little motor, and I'm traveling around in the park, and let's say hypothetically I've been drinking, well, an element of being arrested for operating while intoxicated is you have to be operating a motor vehicle. I'm operating a motor vehicle with my motorized skates. So having said that, the standard in here, with the exception of a golf cart, is if you can't operate it on a public road legally, you can't operate it in here. So UTVs, pit bikes, scooters, motorized skateboards, electric mopeds that don't meet the criteria for registering with the state of Michigan, nope. So the only exception to that are golf carts. That's it. Golf carts. Other than that, if you can't operate it out there on 136 or 26 legally, not welcome in the park.
That definition was clarified by the board a couple of years ago as well, so that was a change. But good point. Thank you, Chris.
Reference golf cart licenses. You have to have one on the front, one on the back. What about those members that have a trailer that they pull behind the golf cart? We'll need to have one behind there. Will we have an option when we do our annual renewal to select how many golf cart licenses we're going to need?
This is what they've come up with. If you have it registered, your golf carts are registered, that's the plates that are going to be ordered. For one thing, they don't want to have a whole bunch of plates that they have to deal with in storage. And if you need it, you buy another cart, or you add something that you need to have the license plate for. At the end of the year, Steve will order through the vendor a golf cart plate. Right now, I don't believe there's anything on trailers, is there? That we know of anyway? Nobody, in fact, nobody has really mentioned that. And I don't know if that's something that's going to be required. Is that something that we should look at? Yeah.
I think that's something that needs to be looked at.
Okay.
My golf cart has a 4-seat trailer that'll go behind it.
Okay.
And it's going to obstruct the license if it's on the back of the golf cart, if I've got that trailer on there.
Okay. Thank you for that. We didn't even...
He's a troublemaker.
I appreciate that question, because that's something that I don't believe anybody has brought that up. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
As long as you're up,
yeah.
is there a cost, or is there a cost associated with each of the plates?
Yes, there is. Right now, and this is a one-time, this is at Sandy Pines cost, and it's $7 per plate. And this is at Sandy Pines cost. I know that for a fact, because we've been dealing with this and going over it and over and over it. And that was the one thing they wanted. I agree with it wholeheartedly, because this is something we really need, and it shouldn't cost more than that. So and it's a one-time thing. Okay? All right, thank you.
I would like to bring up a little bit on the roads, unless there's other golf cart questions, but Salem Township expends about $660,000 a year in roads, and that's through a $5 million levy that voters vote on every 5 years. That comes up again next year. So as long as we have that in place, we are willing, one of our first things is we are willing to partner with other entities to do our roads. But with like 136, first that has to be built to county specs. And I believe, Gene, I think that road was $280,000 just to build it. That wasn't with the paving, was another probably $200,000. So a half mile of that road's going to be about $500,000. So right now, this year, we are working with Jamestown Township, which is in another county, to build 2 miles of Otagon. That's unheard of. We finally got them to agree to go in and take care of that road. Now, it serves more of their public than it does ours. Gene and I have been down to Monterey Township at least twice, if not 3 times, asking them to participate on 136, even going 3 ways with Sandy Pines as being a partner. Like Gene said at first, they kind of held us like, yeah, we'll look into it. But with Salem Township, I look at even you folks as being our residents, because you're here. Whether you're a guest, whether you're part-time, or whether you're full-time here, you're here. So I think we have an obligation to take care of our residents. But sadly to say that the board, and I'm not going to say it's a supervisor, but their board as a whole doesn't see that. They only see the people that are actually have a residence on that road. So they don't think that you folks, they don't see you as residents, and I'm saying the full board, because I'm very good friends with the supervisor, and I think his hands are tied a little bit. So anyway, I just wanted to let you folks know that these roads, there's a lot more than just putting pavement down. There's a lot that goes into them before that. This road is engineered basically waiting, because it's been waiting for about 4 years to get built. We had them pre-engineer it with a cost. That's how we got our cost. But they would do more engineering. But the county already has a lot of our roads engineered for buildings. So anyway, that's all I had on that. And just to go back to this building, would it be fair to say if anybody has any thoughts, to please give them to us? That's only on paper. Gene keeps reminding me that this building is only on paper yet, because I'm the one that gets all stuck up into the stuff that we have it there, and so on and so forth. And he reminds me, it's only on paper, Jim. Those lines can be redrawn. So if you do, I want everybody to look at these and see what you see. And then as far as these buildings go, Steve and I are always working on something. We're already working on the next thing. We don't know where it'd be, what it'd be, but always working on something. Our heads are always going into what's next. So if you have any ideas, let us know. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
On the drawings, last night I was looking at them. On the On the drawings last night, I happened to look at them. The one on the end, it looked like the library was going to be in there, is suggested to be in there. Is that the case?
Moving there, yes.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah, this is a temporary location where it is now.
Wonderful, thank you.
A question that when you guys were talking about how you changed some type of rules about what could be ridden on the roads, for years my kids always rode Power Wheels. My granddaughter's got a Power Wheel type scooter. Are you saying no longer?
Is it powered by a motor?
It's like the battery things, you know, little kid things, you know, you put the battery in, like Power Wheel.
So's my golf cart battery.
But
Yeah,
do you
if it-
know what I'm talking about? Like, do you all know what I'm? Yeah, is the kids can still ride those here or no or what?
Not on the roadways.
Not on the ride.
But one of
like
the other
along with
items
you?
that we ran into quite a bit last year.
I mean, they go
is-
like two, I don't
Yeah,
know, 5
and-
miles an hour. You know what I'm talking about?
And the problem with those is that if they get out there on the road,
I don't
and
mean
you
by
have these,
themselves. Obviously, they're little kids.
yeah, on the sites only, because that would be viewed as a
Oh,
motor
okay.
vehicle. We've seen some really odd things.
Oh.
one example, we saw a number of these last year, is you can go to a toy store apparently and you can purchase, it's electric, it kind of looks like a moped, but it's got an electric motor.
Yeah.
And they go 15 miles an hour or something.
Okay, this is similar to this, but this one definitely don't go 15. It's more of a younger.
What we had was we had
Okay.
episodes where there was, in one case there was a 10-year-old with another person about the same age, and they're out here operating these on the roads.
Okay.
I'll be real blunt, that's enough to make me stroke.
Okay.
With the amount of vehicles that we have in here, they have no driver's training, none.
Okay.
The vehicle's not registered with the state. It has no safety equipment on it. These two children are not wearing helmets.
Okay.
And I
just
think
thought
what
I'd
you're
ask
talking
because
about is these
I'm talking
things
about
that.
it's like a Power Wheel toy thing.
So they sit up about.
Yeah, and they would like ride it walking around. I just wanted to clarify that because I didn't know, because my granddaughter did get one for, I don't know, birthday or Christmas recently, and she's excited to bring it out here, and I said, well, I don't even know if they let you do that anymore. But hoverboards too, because they even got those, the things you stand on.
With a motor?
Those? Or no?
No.
Don't allow
that's
those?
another. That's
Okay.
another.
Okay.
We go right straight. I try to keep it simple. So we go right straight to the state of Michigan definitions.
Okay.
And again, that definition is anything that's got a motor on it. It's considered a
So
motor
all the fun
vehicle.
toys are out.
Pardon?
All the fun toys are out. Okay.
Well, they can. They just can't be operated on the roadway.
Okay,
And-
another question I have for you. We have the 50-year of Sandy Pines coming up. Is there a committee that's working on that or something, or what is some of the plans with that?
Yeah, thank you for reminding me of that. We had, at the board meeting last night, we introduced a person that we contracted with as an event planner for the 50th.
Okay.
Her name is Marcy Palmer, and you can get her information from the office. And this year she is putting together groups of people for ideas. And then from that, a plan will be formulated, and then sponsorships will be sought, and then in the 2021 probably be a series of events. It won't just be one. There will be one featured event, but there will be a series of events throughout the season.
So it won't be just one big grand party like?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, it'll be, so if you, and she was here last night and she was taking names.
Okay.
So if you're interested in getting in on that, please get a hold of Kathy Brott over at the main office, and she will get you in contact with Marcy. So that'd be great. Thank you. Anybody else? I appreciate that question. If anybody else has interest in being a part, doesn't mean you're going to work at it. If you're just interested in giving ideas, because we want events for every age group. So it's we're looking for folks of every age group. So if you got a teener. Or somebody like that would give some ideas and be willing to sit down for a meeting or two, please get a hold of Kathy Brott and have her give you Marcy's contact number, and she'd be delighted to have you as part of it. It's her. Yeah, I would hate to post it because it's a personal cell phone number. So, but she would be more than willing to hear from you. She'd love to hear from you, or Kathy can take names and give her all the names, and then they'll contact you. So, thank you. Anybody else have anything? We've covered a lot of material this morning. It's been great. I got nothing. Anybody here? There are, no, Jenny? No, she smiles. There are three booklets up here that you may take. Whoever's the fastest gets them. But there are three up here that have to do with the new golf cart registration. It's the latest draft. That we were given at the office, and you're welcome to take these three, or if you just want to look at them, take a look at them. Again, the prints and the renderings up on the table, please take time to look at those, and if you've got any ideas, like Jim said, now is the time to get a hold of any one of these 3 board members or myself or Steve DeArmond. We'd be happy to take your ideas. Yes, we're going to be posting those on the website, the renderings. We won't post the job or the drawings on it at this point. We may post the floor plans, maybe. I don't know how well that's going to show up, but we'll have these I plan on having these at every board meeting and every planning meeting, as we did yesterday and today, so they will be available to see. Ellen, you got something?
I just wanted to let people know that the long-term planning committee is going to start talking about an indoor pool proposal, and there probably will be a survey. We'll have a survey put together, and in order to make that successful, we need to have a lot of input, and hopefully down the road maybe have some focus groups to try to put together a proposal that people can support and get behind and vote on.
Good, thank you. Don, you got anything? No? Well, if not, again, if you haven't signed up for a $5 ice cream certificate at Dairy Dip, do that. And if you need any landscaping or hardware, please go to see one of these folks at Bachheisen or Do It Best in Wayland. They have been good sponsors for us. Thank you all and have a great weekend.